Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar titled Turning Challenges into Opportunities in the MCWP and Hoist rental industry. I'm thrilled to be your host. My name is Ibanez, and first of all, I'd like to provide you with an overview of what to expect from this engaging session. This webinar will explore the details of the mass climbing wall platform and Hoist rental industry. We'll discover the current challenges this unique sector is facing in different parts of the globe. And more importantly, we'll examine how these challenges can be transformed into growth opportunities. Our aim today is not just to identify problems, but to discover the strategies and approaches that different rental companies in different parts of the world use to turn obstacles into stepping stones towards success. Today, we have a lineup of industry experts who will be sharing their invaluable insights. First, we have Damian Beausang, the Managing Director of Access Engineering Group from Australia. Damian will enlighten us on his experiences and how his company tackled industry challenges in the Australian market. Next, we'll hear from Ben Chong, the Director of Global Construction Limited in Singapore. Ben will discuss the strategies his team employed to overcome hurdles and thrive in this competitive landscape in Singapore. Last but not least, we have Martin Wright, the IPAF Rental Plus Scheme Manager. Martin will provide an outlook at how this industry standard can help rental companies. Following their presentations, we'll open the floor for a Q&A session where you can pose your questions to our esteemed speakers. Without further ado, I hand over to my colleague, Mike Ashton. I hope you enjoyed the webinar.
Angel, it's great to be a part of the webinar. So firstly, I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's webinar. They are Maber, Electro-Elsa, Alimac, and Kingfisher Access. Okay, so coming up next is two short videos from our sponsors, Electro-Elsa and Alimac. A great couple of videos there from Electro Elsa and Alimac. So now we'll lead on to our first speaker of the evening. So it's Ben Chong. So Ben started his current role more than 10 years ago. He's in charge of the site management of MUPs, mast climbers, and scaffolding. Ben's other responsibilities include safety, conducting risk assessments and inspections, training, supplier management, and auditing and implementing company health and safety procedures and practices. His previous positions include being the safety director of Po-Wa Scaffolding and Engineering and safety manager at China Construction South Pacific Development. He holds a master's degree in occupational health and safety and a bachelor's degree in IT and business. He has many professional qualifications, which include him being a certified lead auditor, an international certified auditor, a registered safety officer and worker type manager with the Ministry of Manpower, and a member of the Institution of Engineers in Singapore since 2006. Over to you, Ben.
Okay, thank you, Mike, for the humble introduction. Okay, so a very good day to everyone. So I would like to take this opportunity to share with everyone on the mast climbing work platform and Hoist rental business in Singapore. So, and moving forward, sharing with you guys on the challenges and opportunities that you guys can look into it. So a brief introduction of probably where is Singapore. We are just a little small dot at the southern eastern part of Asia. And generally, we are having a small area of 728 kilometers square with 5.5 million population around. So I will share with you why does all these statistics it's important when we move on to the later part of the slides. So what does global construction does in Singapore? We are a Singapore-based company specializing in a wide array of construction-related services, such as metal scaffolding installation, passenger and material hoist, mast climbing work platform, as well as temporary and permanent gondolas, which term cradle. Okay, we are also an authorized training provider under the Ministry of Manpower, as well as the Building Construction Authority, in short, BCA, to conduct workplace safety and health training, as well as machine technical skills training. A bit of background and the environment in the construction environment in Singapore. Okay, so mast climbing work platform and construction material hoist rental market in Singapore is very matured market, experiencing at the moment steady growth as result on ongoing construction investment in the country. Okay, so the first MCWP and rack and pinion hoist were first used in the early 2000s. Nowadays, Singapore's construction growth is driven and that due to the urban expansion project created a consistent demand for this type of equipment. Okay, so the majority of Singapore's urban development over the past 45 years are high-rise with buildings typically between 10 to 30 story. 80% of the population live in high-rise building, public housing, often built as part of the large-scale planned development. Both new construction and refurbished projects uses machine like what you have seen in the picture. Okay, so as shared with you on the area as well as the population that we are having, so it is a densely populated city-state, which 80% of them are staying at buildings such as between 10 to 34. Okay, let's touch a bit on the market growth. The demand for MCWP and construction hoist in Singapore has been on the rise due to the government's commitment to infrastructure projects such as the residential development and commercial construction. The authority also come in and reported a total construction demand in 2023, a value of construction contract to be ranged between 27 billion to 32 billion Sing dollars. The public sector is expected to contribute about 60% of the total construction demand, between 16 billion to 19 billion, and supported by a continued strong pipeline in the public housing by the Housing Development Board. So I would like to probably share with you guys, the biggest developer in Singapore would be the HDB, the Housing Development Board, which is run by the state-owned as well as the government-owned. Okay, so their objective is to continually supply every citizen as well as every resident in Singapore to have a house. Secondly, I would like to share with you guys on the safety regulation that we have in Singapore. We have a stringent safety regulation and guidelines to ensure that we maintain low fatality rate internationally. So we are now ranked probably at number 5 in terms of the fatality rate that we have in Singapore, right below UK as well as Sweden. Okay, so with the context of Hoist as well as MCWP, we need to have our engineers by training to be inspecting as well as endorsing all the design. Okay, so we have a professional engineer, which is PE, as well as authorized engineer to ensure that the footing and tiebacks are in place. Even the swing gate that Hoist uses are inspected monthly, okay, to ensure that it is still intact. And the mechanical part are inspected every 6 monthly for both Hoist and MCWP. So some fun facts for the supplier as well as manufacturer of Hoist. In Singapore, for all the public project, okay, we have a lifespan of 10 years. We can only use the Hoist for 10 years within Singapore. After that, it will need to be scrapped or it can be passed over to the public, to the private sector. But in public sector, we give them a lifespan of 10 years. Okay, so I will touch on another topic, which is on the skilled labor, the manpower in Singapore. So we have a high demand of skilled operator and technician to maintain and operate MCWP as well as the Hoist. So it is very challenging, and the manpower cost in Singapore is shooting up. An average mechanical engineer that we have here would actually looking at a pretty high of about 5,000 to 7,000 Sing dollars. Yep. Okay, so the shortage of skilled labor in the industry at this moment create a nationwide movement to adopt mechanization. So that also give a light to MCWP as well as PM Hoist to replace intensive jobs such as metal scaffolding and installation of metal scaffolding. There is an increase in usage of PPVC, which is the precast component. So we are not most of our public project, or rather I can say 90% of our public project uses precast component. So we do not have casting on site. Everything are cast off site. So that actually gave an opportunity for mass climbing work platform to be deployed so that the facade can be installed safely. Okay, so more key market trends and main challenges that I'll be touching on. The environmental concern. So there is a strong emphasis on environmental sustainability in Singapore. So the companies are increasingly investing on eco-friendly equipment and practices to reduce their carbon footprint and meet the green construction standard. So in 2022 October, our our minister actually announced that it would raise its climate target to achieve net zero emission by 2050. So everyone are actually moving forward towards that target and hope that we can achieve in 2050. So the competition, probably some of them would want to know how intensified the competition are there in Singapore. The rental market is very mature, extremely competitive, with several local and international players offering MCWP and Hoist for rent. To remain competitive, companies are focusing on service quality, equipment reliability, and customer support. And not forgetting, safety is also one of the top priority in terms of accessing the project quality PQP, project quality plan on awarding the contractor. Okay, we will touch a bit on the technological advancement. Many companies are adopting modern technologies such as IoT sensor and telematics to monitor and maintain their equipment efficiently. This helps in predictive maintenance and reduce downtime. For us, we term it as smart technology. And last but not least, the customization and singular project. So in order to make competitive in the local in our Singapore market, you need to offer customized solution to cater to specific project requirement. And this is one of the strategies of the supplier as well as installer is moving towards. So the flexibility allows us to needs of the construction objective. So strategy that we follow in response to those challenges, investment training is definitely the top priority that most of the suppliers as well as the installers. So investing in training programs such as for their staff as well as customer to ensure safe operation and maintenance of MCW as well as the Hoist. And to even support that further, our authority, Building Construction Authority, actually provide grant to support up to 70% of the training qualifying costs. Okay, so to ensure that they understand the system, the machine well, and use it at their peak performance. Okay, so beside training, the scheme provide funds includes the purchase of the equipment, testing and accreditation of the equipment. So the second point I want to touch on would be the technology integration. We are moving towards a smart nation. Okay, being a city-state, we would want to digitalize things as fast as possible. So including the machinery that we are using. So integrating advanced technology equipment allow for better monitoring and maintenance, as well as reducing the downtime and enhancing the safety aspect. So that would create a common, so we are implementing a common data environment. It's called CDE locally, to use by all project partners to share the common data standard, okay, federation of the project partners, like using BIM modeling into a singular view of collaboration, integrating the key functions. So we have set up a core digital team to oversee and guide implementation of the digital transformation initiative. Yeah. So the next strategy that I'll be touching on eco-friendly initiative. Some rental companies are focusing on providing eco-friendly equipment options to meet the growing demand of the sustainable construction practice. As shared, we are aiming towards a net zero emission in 2050. We are pushing a lot on it. And there are more grants rolling up to meet the target. So, and last but not least, we follow the strategies on customer-centric approach, maintaining strong customer relationship and offering tailored solutions are vital for sustainable market, okay, in this particular competitive environment. In conclusion, MCWP and Hoist market in Singapore is robust, driven by countries' construction steady growth, while challenges related to safety, skilled labor, environmental concerns persist. We are adopting by investing in training, technology, and environmental friendly practices to remain competitive and meet the demand of the market. So I'd like to thank you guys for your attention. I'll hand over back to Mike.
Thank you very much, Ben. That was a very informative presentation. Thanks again. I'd now like to introduce Damian Beausang, who's the Managing Director of Access Engineering Group. So Damian's career is in its 5th decade and includes extensive experience in the scaffolding industry. In 1997, he co-founded what is now known as Access Engineering Group and is based in Perth in Western Australia. And since 2003, he has been its sole owner. Initially, AEG specialized in general commercial construction, but now operates several other divisions, which include scaffolding, mast climbers and cradles, training, engineering and consultancy, shoring and false work supply, and sales. The company's mast climber fleet was introduced in 2021 and currently stands at 70 drive units, which is expected to rise to 100 units by the end of the year. Over to you, Damian.
Thanks very much, Mike. Access Engineering Group started in West Australia in 1997, as Mike said. Basically, as a scaffolding company starting in the commercial space, we worked hard to develop a British-style scaffold company in Australia. The Australian market is somewhat different to the UK market, and we'll discuss those, or I'll discuss those issues as we go through the slides. If we can move on to the second slide, please. So just chronological order going through as the company developed. You can see the slides in front of you. The company, as I said already, started off as a scaffolding company. We moved into powered access in 2006, buying product from Alimak Heck in Australia, and we've expanded on that fleet in the interim and quite a lot since. We're still doing so. The company also acquired Layer Scaffolding, a German scaffold product. We have a rope access division, powered access division, scaffolding division, consultancy division, and we also have fabrication now on board, as well as training, most recently becoming part of the IPAF family. And we're training in mast climbing, mast climbing skills as a user trainer only in West Australia at the moment. And I believe that we were the first IPAF accredited mast climbing training company in Australia. Next slide, please. The company, I suppose, has evolved with the nature of where we're situated. So West Australia is a very, very large mining state. The GDP of Australia largely depends on mining, and West Australia would be at the foremost state in regarding to the GDP of Australian mining. Iron ore is a hugely significant market here. Oil and gas is also a large user of access systems, from scaffolding to mast climbers to rope access on and offshore. I believe Australia is presently second only to Qatar in the world in its production of LNG. So there's a very, very large scope industrially here. Although the state itself, West Australia, being, I believe, the most sort of isolated region on Earth in regards to this sort of work, with a population only in West Australia of 2 million people. The state itself is 3.7 times larger than the state of Texas. To give it some scale, and the population certainly bats above its size at all times in relation to how much money comes out of this state. Our company concentrated initially on the commercial sector, as noted. We moved into mining and oil and gas in the interim. We retain some market share in those areas. There's continued growth in those areas, and iron ore is a huge commodity and global requirement. that we support. Next slide, please. Yep. So we're going through the company structure. Touched on these things already. So once again, scaffolding is still the core of the business. I'm a scaffolder for my sins. Powered access, as we've discussed, mast climbers. We do have a small hoist fleet as well. Rope access, as a, I guess, range of services does require, and clients require us to manage their expectations. Sometimes different forms of access are vital to give us that level of flexibility that our clients require across the board. Training, we also train outside of the IPAF sphere. We train in scaffolding, also train in forklifts, elevated work platforms, and consultancy. So the group is deployed in the Southern Hemisphere for a number of mining and oil and gas companies, occasionally spreading our wings up to the Northern Hemisphere and helping out with bespoke works. So we get around a bit as a company. Next slide, please. So the challenges in West Australia in particular, and in Australia, so being a huge country, Australia has a number of different aspects to it commercially in relation to access. So if we look at the West Coast where we're based, and we've gone through those areas already, it's still logistical. So the state of West Australia is huge. Australia as a federal country has training systems in place that would be not the best at this point in time. They're developing still. They wouldn't be at a scissors level for scaffolding or an IRATA level for rope access generally in relation to how people are trained here. The high-risk work license system in Australia requires operatives to do scaffolding work who are deemed advanced after a 2-week course. The same applies to rigging. There is no qualification for mast climbing. It's unfortunate, but we are working on that with IPAF, and I believe that we're moving in the right direction at this point in time, but it takes time. The country has a large influence of trade unions, and the trade unions take control of a lot of the training situations. These are challenges that we face day to day, and again, with IPAF and with our other organizations and industry groups, we're trying to improve those outcomes for the people coming into the industry and the people already in the industry to improve safety and delivery for our clients in all industries that access supports. As a company, AEG supports a number of access-based designs. So we have in-house engineering. Again, the UK sets the bar quite high for this in relation to scaffolding design work and working off BIM models. Australia is catching up in that realm, and we're very much pushing that forward as a company and trying to bring ourselves up to a global best standard. As noted in the last point, the current federal Australian government at present isn't a strong advocate for immigration. So in-country training is more and more significant. Next slide, please. So Australia has skills shortage. Excuse me, I believe this is a global situation right now. Ben noted before, I think everybody's aware that COVID changed everything in the world, and we're all having to look back into our own workforce and our own available stocks of human labor to nurture skills training. Unfortunately, in Australia, the level of skills training isn't really high enough for mast climber operatives and scaffolding operatives. So we are having still to look to the UK and to other similar markets, New Zealand, to try and find suitably skilled personnel to come to Australia. The plus side of Australia in that regard is the standard of living is reasonably high. The salaries and I suppose wages generally are of a high standard, and the cost of living is probably a bit less than some of our neighbours at this point in time. Retention of older workforce and nurturing people over 40 and 50 is something that we've concentrated on quite a lot over the last 10 years. People still have a great value to industry. Their expertise is unrivaled generally when they get to that stage of their careers. And if they're still motivated, these are the people that we find mentor the next generation coming through and enable us to be better trained and trained above the current Australian standard. Our company does focus on immigration. We do focus on bringing people from overseas, as touched on before. And the overseas markets that we tend to look towards are the UK, New Zealand, and the Philippines. Next slide, please. Solutions and equipment, supply and demand. So the east coast of Australia is well entrenched with the use of MCWPs at this point in time, has been for a number of years. Sydney, New South Wales on the east coast, Brisbane, which is in Queensland on the east coast, and Adelaide in South Australia. Mast climbers are quite common and commonly used in construction, not so much in heavy industry, but certainly in construction. And the by far largest volume of equipment in the MCWP environment is based on the east coast. In West Australia, we as a company have endeavoured to provide these machines into heavy industrial use more because of the mining and because of oil and gas and because of their needs, and also in shipbuilding. So those areas have been very valuable to my business, and there is expansion in those areas with other mast climbing companies coming into the field now. The amount of companies in Australia putting up mast climbers at the moment is relatively small. However, the market is certainly starting to become more and more populated as companies from overseas and major companies push harder with their mast climbing fleets. Again, West Australia is a massive state. It's very hard to visualize on a Zoom meeting how big the place is and how much mining goes on here. But I can assure you there's no shortage of opportunities in West Australia in regard to all access systems, and especially mast climbers. Next slide, please. The company provides a range of bespoke solutions, more in the scaffold situation, catering to the needs of oil and gas on and offshore companies, where logistics is a huge issue. Support vessels are a huge issue, and also POB, personnel on board, so space on board vessels, on board platforms. If you can keep that to a minimum and still provide the access systems that the client needs to, have their trade teams come in, maintain, remediate platforms, then you have a very, very strong market in the offshore space. The same applies to mining, outages, shutdowns, and similar situations where craneable scaffolding systems, large mobile steel scaffolding systems on tracks, and sheeted scaffolding systems can, retain an awful lot of workforce, keep them in the field in very inhospitable conditions. We get very, very high temperatures in West Australia, frequently over 40 degrees C and sometimes over 50. So being able to encapsulate works and create environments that are less hostile to work in has a huge benefit to the mining sector. And the commercial sector too is starting to catch on to the fact that you can design scaffolds to save a lot of time, pre-build them, crane them into place, crane them back out of place, reduce your dropped objects, improve your safety environment for everybody. So my company concentrates very, very largely on that aspect of the industries in West Australia. Next slide, please. So the future projecting is always a dangerous thing. We all do it, but at the same time, because of the resource sector in West Australia, we feel there is a lot of opportunity still in the market in West Australia, also in Queensland, also in South Australia. The mining states are affluent. They have a lot of resource in the ground. It won't be going away for all of our lifetimes. So I think there's plenty of opportunity there. With our business expanding into a fleet of 140 plus mast climbers by, I would hope, the end of 2024. We believe that there is a market for those machines in Australia, There's a dry hire market in the East Coast, and there's a wet hire market locally for our own installers to install and dismantle. Diversity is often the key to everything. I think my company is diverse enough at this point in time. That's not to say that won't change. And when I think about it, it probably will change. Next slide, please. And that's it for me. And thanks to IPAF for the opportunity. And wherever you're listening or watching this, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Damian. A very informative presentation there. Excellent. So now we'll move on to our third sponsor film, which comes from Meba. Another excellent video there from our sponsor, Meba. Now we'll move on to our last speaker of the session. That's Martin Wraith. So Martin started his career as a delivery driver in the 1980s. He's since worked in the powered access industry as an independent instructor for over 10 years, progressing to become an IPAF examiner and over the last 7 years, an IPAF auditor. During his time as an IPAF instructor and auditor, Martin sat on the IPAF Rental Plus committee, contributing to the development of the scheme. And in 2021, he was appointed as IPAF's Rental Plus scheme manager and is now responsible for the future development of the scheme, both in the UK and other regions of the world. So over to you, Martin.
Hello and welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure to be with you today, highlighting how IPAF can help and assist you turning challenges into opportunities. My name is Martin Wraith and I'm the IPAF Rental Plus Scheme Manager. Let's start by taking a step back and look at the world as it stands today. It paints a challenging picture for any business. Therefore, making the best of every opportunity is absolutely vital. Due to recent and ongoing worldwide and regional events, we are all facing challenging times. Decisions of regulators, increased costs, increased regulatory scrutiny, downturn in demand for equipment, all have an impact. So let's start by looking at our customer base. Without customers, no business will survive. It is therefore vitally important to not only retain existing customers, but be able to attract new ones. It's also vitally important to be able to retain and attract customers when things don't go quite as intended. A high customer retention rate indicates that a company is successful in fostering strong relationships with its existing customer base, leading to increased customer lifetime value and more stable revenue streams. And ultimately, focus on customer retention can contribute significantly to a company's long-term success and growth. So trust plays a major part in customer retention, as it does with employee retention. But what is trust? Trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, or ability of someone or something. And therefore, if there is no trust, without doubt, this has a negative impact on any business. So how do we go about building trust? Let's not forget as well that once in place, if customers have confidence and trust in our company and staff, it acts like a magnet, attracting others to work with us, leading to increased profitability. So, therefore, trust and loyalty have a profound impact on a business's ability to attract and retain customers, build a positive brand reputation, foster strong employee relationships, form successful partnerships, navigate crisis, and ultimately achieve long-term success and growth. So therefore, prioritizing trust and loyalty in business practices can lead to a sustainable and thriving enterprise. But when things on occasions go wrong, as they sometimes do, without our customers having trust in our company, our equipment and our staff, it can often prove difficult to retain their business. This leads to a loss of earnings, not to mention the reputational damage that may occur. And unfortunately, bad news travels like the wind. Within days, if not even hours of something negative happening, it can be public knowledge around the globe, thanks to the wonders of the internet and social media. Social media allows bad news to spread rapidly and reach a large audience within seconds, leading to potential reputational damage, financial losses, legal and regulatory scrutiny, and negative impact on customer relations. So how do we build trust? So now that we've established that trust is a key ingredient to success, let's turn our attention as to how we can generate that trust. As we all know, safety is paramount in our industry. It isn't expensive, it's priceless, and it's essential to remember that the true cost of an accident goes beyond monetary figures, but without doubt, embedding safety within a rental business will pay dividends. So IPAF's role is to promote and enable the safe, effective use of powered access worldwide through providing technical advice and information, through influencing and interpreting legislation and standards, and through safety initiatives and training programs. If you think about the equipment within our industry, it's all designed to a standard that has to be complied with. If you think about the operator training that IPAF provide, it has to comply to a standard. But there is no hire or rental standard for the rental of powered access equipment. So what is IPAF doing to support rental members enhance a positive health and safety culture? Well, there is a standard now. I'm delighted to be able to say that IPAF, with the support of an international working group made up of recognised industry experts, have put together the IPAF rental standard. In simple terms, it is a blueprint for anyone wishing to understand what industry recognised good practice looks like. Written by industry experts, people who truly understand the powered access industry, it meets and exceeds, quite often, minimum standards. The document is split into 3 clear sections. Asset management, where we look at the procurement, maintenance and machine availability, for example, and hire process, where, as the title suggests, we concentrate on all processes relating to the hire of equipment, and exceptions, things that in an ideal world would not occur, breakdowns, customer damage and prohibitions, for example. The hire process section is laid out as if you were following the rental cycle, from purchasing the powered access equipment, preparing it for hire, taking the customer's order, and it follows the journey of the equipment, including maintenance, breakdowns, inspections, delivery and collection, right the way through to the eventual sale of the asset. As I say, it's laid out in a logical format. There's an introduction to each process, and the process flowcharts showing previous and next processes for all outcomes, and there is explanatory text with each point. Here we see an example of the process flowchart relating to the pre-delivery inspection, with different outcomes depending upon your answers to the various questions asked throughout the process. The standard is in the process of being translated into the core languages, including Chinese, and will be available around the globe via the IPAF website very shortly. So what else is IPAF doing to support rental members, enhance a positive health and safety culture? Well, in addition to the IPAF rental standard, I'm delighted to say that we are expanding the IPAF Rental Plus certification scheme to new regions around the world and have made it available to the Mast Climbing Working Platform and Construction Hoist rental members. But I can hear some people saying already, what is IPAF Rental Plus? IPAF Rental Plus was started at the request of smaller IPAF rental members who wanted someone to independently audit them so they could demonstrate that they had good policies and procedures in place. Over recent years, the scheme has been reviewed and it is now operational in various regions around the world and is mandatory to maintain IPAF rental membership in the UK. So, IPAF Rental Plus certification is proof a hire or rental company has been independently audited against the IPAF rental standard. It meets rigorous health and safety, quality and environmental standards, and it evidences the fact that the company has a mechanism for continuous business improvement. It's certified proof that the hire and rental company employees across the company are trained to the required level, and provides assurance to customers at every stage of the hire and rental process. And it is the powered access industry's guarantee of a quality hire and rental company. Within the audit, there is a continuous improvement process where companies can see what is required as a minimum requirement, but also has the steps required to improve should there be a desire to do so within the company. Remember this slide? Trust, a firm belief in the reliability, truth or ability of someone or something. What better way to endorse the fact that than to have a third-party industry-specific certification from an international not-for-profit organisation? What better way to evidence and promote the fact that people can trust in your organisation? And remember that magnet, how customer trust attracts new business. And by seeing safety as an opportunity within your rental business, you not only protect your employees, you add credibility to your business, and in return you will, without doubt, see it grow and become more successful. Adhere to the IPAF rental standard and consider compliance certification with the IPAF Rental Plus scheme. The power access industry's guarantee of a high quality rental member. So in conclusion, I would like to say that by seeing safety as an opportunity rather than a challenge, it creates opportunities for success. A positive safety culture helps to retain existing and attract new customers, and adhering to a recognised industry-specific standard helps companies ensure procedures are following recognised good practice. And being able to demonstrate compliance to an industry-specific standard via third-party certification gives customers the confidence, and therefore retention is enhanced. Finally, I would just like to ask that people look out for notification that the IPAF rental standard is available on the IPAF website. It will be available via the tools and resource library section. Have a good read of it. We would be interested in your comments on it. Review your current procedures against those in the standard to identify areas for potential improvement. I'd suggest that you share the IPAF rental standard with your customers and ask if their other powered access providers adhere to industry-specific good practice. And ultimately, I'd consider and request that people consider gaining IPAF Rental Plus certification to demonstrate compliance to the standard. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you've enjoyed my presentation, and I look forward to working with you both on the IPAF Rental Standard and the IPAF Rental Plus certification scheme. And if anybody has any questions or would like to contact me at any time, my email address is there, but it's also freely available on the IPAF website. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. So now we move on to our final sponsor film, and this is from Kingfisher Access.
Kingfisher Access are an industry-trusted provider of health and safety training, specialising in working at height. Our instructors have the patience and expertise to ensure delegates leave our training centres able to work safely and confidently. We deliver a range of courses with online, classroom, site-based or blended learning options, committing to your needs, providing faultless, carefully planned and well-executed training. Building on our reputation for quality, innovation, customer service and value for money, Kingfisher Access continues to grow, covering all aspects of safety at height and beyond. As long-established members of both IPAF and PASMA, our training ranges from the smallest podiums to the tallest towers, the most compact PAVs to the largest mast climber platforms. Our customer-centric approach, underpinned by our core values, ensures we are always improving our standards in your training experiences. We understand planning training for equipment that you may be unfamiliar with can be overwhelming. Our dedicated training teams are here to help you navigate through from start to finish, with friendly, knowledgeable support when choosing the course best suited to your needs. We appreciate the demands of modern business. Training has to fit in with commercial and operational needs, so we also offer training in the evenings and at weekends. Need training in a hurry? Don't worry. If our agents aren't available, our fully interactive website offers a 24/7 live booking system, meaning if spaces are available, you can even book a training course up to midnight the day before attending. Simply find your course, enter your details, make the payment, and your booking is instantly confirmed. All the relevant course information will be sent to the email address you've provided. Instant peace of mind. To start a search, go to kingfisheraccess.com. To start a conversation, call 0333 666 1881. Contact Kingfisher Access today.
A very informative video there from Kingfisher Access. So that's it from me. I've really enjoyed the webinar, and now I'll hand you back to Angel.
Thank you very much, Mike. Fantastic presentations today. We are now ready to commence the Q&A session. We have already several questions. We have one question for Ben, question from John. He's asking, well, in Singapore, a significant portion of the workforce comprises individuals from other Southeast Asian countries. How does a rental company manage the fact that there are several languages spoken in the workplace in terms of the training, the material you have to use, and also the communication process with everybody involved in the use of the machines? How do you deal with all that?
Okay, thanks, John, for the question. Okay, so I would like to briefly share with you guys on the process of hiring in terms of the workers level to Singapore. So before even the workers are eligible to be working in Singapore, they need to go through a test, a skills test that it's that's overseen by the Building Construction Authority. So it is an English-based test. So with that in mind, they have already to answer that technical skills test. They have a minimum English level in terms of working in Singapore. So we actually look into their proficiency in terms of the language area. Beside that, if they still do not probably understand the full terminology of the machine parts, we usually will have a supervisor that is more competent and English, that is more proficient in their in the language. Coming from the same country, they will translate as well as guide them through. So it's a bit on the job training for that aspect. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Next question is for Damian. Darren is asking, has the IPAF MCWP training been popular so far? Are there local regulations in place to ensure the MCWP users are trained?
To date, we haven't held any courses, so I can't say it's popular. But I believe that the larger construction companies, especially the ones that are UK based and that are now in Australia, there is quite a lot of interest in the courses. I suppose it's hard for a new product, if you like, with IPAF coming into a construction community that tends to err towards national associations and high-risk work licenses. But my gut feeling is it's certainly going to go from strength to strength because there's quite a lot of mast climbers getting used in Australia now. And Angel, you were here yourself and you've witnessed it. There's good mast climbing people down here. They understand the products. They are working safely, but having some sort of unilateral training is vital. It gives us a benchmark, and yeah, I feel that it will absolutely succeed in this marketplace.
Yeah. Thank you. And the next question is also for you, Damian. Raul is asking, well, you mentioned that Access Engineering Group has a reputation of innovation, and you also explained that you deal with different product lines, MCWP, construction hoist, rope access, scaffolding. Which product line would you say is more relevant on this regard in terms of innovation, and also if you integrate somehow different product lines in innovative ways?
Raul, thanks for the question. Yeah, look, I'd say, to be honest, across the board, we're innovative. So scaffolding, although unless you're directly involved in the industry, probably doesn't seem like something you can innovate. But believe you me, there's so many different things you can do. Mast climbers, bird caging mast climbers, putting mast climbers on tracks, hanging mast climbers, running them down the way, rope access with heavy rigging equipment being involved. Look, I'd have to say that every division we have is innovative. It's our goal to undertake bespoke works and improve our market because of that. So across the board would be my answer. I guess I'm a dyed-in-the-wool scaffolder, but the business is run on a very equilateral basis, and I believe that everybody who's managing in my business is equally innovative, and I think the business as such is also equally innovative across the board.
Thank you. This one is for Ben. Machida is asking, well, Singapore is known for its unique environmental conditions and regulations, and probably in part because Singapore is a small country with limited natural resources. Could you, Ben, discuss how does it affect the operations of an MCWP and Hoist rental company, the environmental conditions and regulations?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question. Okay. So as we know that Singapore is a densely populated country, so most of the houses that we have, it's high rise, and we are also converting houses. We are tearing it down and building more high rises to meet the demand in the market. So we actually built quite a fair bit of. We actually moved onto a PPVC module, which is in short, it's called precast modules to speed up the building. And in order to patch all the gap between the modules itself under the precast module, we built mass climbers around the building. So there is a huge demand, and that's where we gradually slow installation of metal scaffold down and replace it with a machine such as MCWP. So that's things that we are moving forward to.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. We have one last question for Damian. Is Mark asking, well, due to the fact that Australia is such a large country, how do you deal with the different regulations applicable in the different regions? And do they vary a lot from one region to another?
Thanks, Mark, for the question. Yeah, look, Australia is a large country. Yeah, we've already touched on that. The regulations come under various different nearly autonomous safe work associations. So Safe Work Australia, WorkSafe Australia, WorkCover Australia. So different states have different regulations. However, the standards do apply across the board here. So an Australian standard is in place, and most of the companies do follow that standard. And I think most of the companies exceed Australian standards. So that's the way they tackle it. Mass climbers are still relatively new in Australia. The Singaporean market is far more mature, I believe, at this stage in relation to the product. However, moving forward, industry groups, IPAF again, potentially being able to lobby standards committees and industry groups per se, the Scaffold Association of Australia, and a few other organisations that are out there now. I think there's potential to uniform all of the states and territories in Australia to create some sort of uniformity that certainly has its problems right now. But everybody seems to be working with the right intention to improve the situation and uniform the country. But it is a very, very big country, and every state is quite proud of its own autonomy. So when you have things like that in place, it can be awkward, But thanks, good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Damian and Ben. And ladies and gentlemen, as we draw the curtains of today's webinar, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speakers for their valuable insights, to our sponsors for their support, and of course, to our engaged audience for your participation. We hope you have gained valuable knowledge that will serve you well in your endeavors stay connected with us for future events and discussions. And thank you very much once again, and have a wonderful day ahead.